I have to admit, I did not watch the show when it was.
Get out!
I know.
Get out!
However, I binged it last month. Okay, binge watched, and so it's right here in the front of my brain, and I love it. And my favorite characters on that show were you two, because you were naughty. Naughty. That's right. I mean, you were great. Thank you. See, I redeemed myself. My question for you is about the wardrobe. It all looks so heavy and so cumbersome, whatever, and everything. I mean, did they create it in a way that it wasn't as heavy as it looked for you, or was it as heavy as it looked?
You know, it was both. In a way, it could have been a whole lot heavier because there would be many. In truth, there would have been many more underlayers of things that women in particular, would have had to have worn.
But we wore nothing. Totally nude.
So that was what was going on underneath. But the materials, yeah, they were heavy because they were layers. They were dresses with coats upon things and lots of high collars. And our costume designer started to really play too with some amazing fabrics. And often she'd use fabrics that then would be used in upholstery sometimes. So they would be these really wacky, interesting designs. But that stuff would be very heavy. Lots of velvet.
And it would be, as you're sort of ready to go for a take, you'd often take the big surcoats off, and it's like, going for a take, and you're like, oh, everyone put their shoes back on, so stagger up, put out the cigarettes, and slip you into a coat, and you'd be like, oh, fuck, okay. Here we go. And the weird thing too is wearing stuff all through the day, because you sort of, and we're on concrete floors a lot of the time too, so it gets everything. There is nothing glamorous about the process of making stuff. And little things like even having a sword belt across your shoulder, which isn't particularly heavy, but doing that every day, our necks are all kind of screwed, because you end up with just that slight bit there where it all gets a bit screwed up. And I also had vanity boots, because I'm 5'10", and all the other boys in that show are like 6'4" or something. Dicks. Meredith, was a costume designer, on first emailing him when I was coming in. We were talking about colours and costumes and all sorts of things like that, and she went, oh, we're going to get you some boots made. This is a great boot maker, because they were incredible. Meredith and Michelle and the whole team made these beautiful things. And I went, could you just make them a bit high, like give them a bit of a heel? And she went, oh yeah, baby. And when I arrived, the boots were this high. Inserted into them were these lifts that were about, this is full Tom Cruise here. So I was basically wearing high heels through the entire show. That's why I walked like a drag queen. And it was brilliant, except sometimes there were twists. You know, we'd be walking down the corridor and be, oh yes, we should do the walk. And at the end of the day, sorry, I took too much notice. At the end of the day, having been in our seats all day, and then it would be a wrap. And I'd be like, oh great, I'd take the shoes off, and it was like, oh great. Just sort of one off into this until my goodness.
Did you keep them?
Meredith gave them to me, because I saw one.
Because who the?
She was goddamn wonderful, and there were a couple of things she said, choose some stuff you like, and there was a coat that I just thought was so useful. But we drank so much on the last night, so much. While Mary was getting her head cut off, the rest of the cast had been drinking for about 8 hours. We had gone into wardrobe and dressed up in all these coats and jewelry, and we were just a mess. And so I totally forgot about the boots and the coats. So yeah, drinking is bad. You see, when it affects your life, stop.
Wait, were you here at DragonCon? Megan, did you have any costume pieces or anything fun that you got to take home?
I did take home, there was a coat that I loved that was a black, very heavy, long black velvet coat that had this gold lace embroidered on it, sort of beautiful, and I did Meredith. I think you could kind of quickly go like, no. Look that way. I did wear it actually. I wore it. I wore it at the Canadian Screen Awards because I was nominated for Rain, and I had and Meredith had helped me find a beautiful black dress, a Dolce & Gabbana long black dress, and then I took the coat and I wore it. So there's a great photograph of me wearing that for my last sort of to say goodbye to my wardrobe.
I want to be tall again.
You'll always be tall in my books.
Because you're short.
I'm sorry. You were always taller than me. You're now walking around like a drag queen on stilts, and I'm like a little. What the hell was that about?
Next question.
Hi, so I was wondering, one of Catherine's main redeeming qualities throughout the whole show was like her love and her dedication to her family. And when Narcisse gets back from being in England, he comes back with Jean-Philippe, and Catherine's like,
I knew they'd ask about this.
He's talking about how he's always going to replace her life, and he's like, I never want to see this child again. And given Catherine's whole dedication to her family, I was wondering how you two thought that might have affected their relationship going forward, since Narcisse has basically gone, yeah, your most important thing in your life, yeah, I don't care about it.
Yeah, what did you do with the child? Where is it?
This was about you actually being really cruel and saying that you didn't want to see the kid anymore, and how that was hurt me. I just want to reiterate that question. I think that Katherine was a very practical person, ultimately. So I think that she, first of all, was very happy that Lola had lost her head. Because she got Narcisse back. She was going to give him a little while to get over it. And then she wanted him to snap out of it and get back to ruling a country with her. And I think she was extremely... I think that Katherine didn't wait for her male companions or feelings about things one way or the other. She took charge of her own family. She already had one husband who she couldn't rely on for certain things, so she was fiercely loyal to her family. She would have had that child protected, sequestered somewhere away, and made sure that it was, and would wait to see where she would position that child next. Who she could marry that child off to at some point. But keep in mind, that child would have been, because that was Lola's child, sadly to say, that child would have had no chance at being a king or anything. Because that
You can say the word because it's proper. It was a bastard.
It was a bastard. The child would have been a bastard. So in fact, yeah, there would have been, I mean, she already, we all know what she thought about Sebastian. So she doesn't have a lot of time for bastards.
Who does?
But I think she would, but it was her son, so there would be a different thing. She would have been very protective. And I don't think she would have honestly indulged much worry about his emotions or what he thought or felt. She would want him back working for her. That's what I think.
I do love that, as she died, Lola's, the great love of Narcisse's life is,
What?
look after the second great love.
Jesus,
Look after
she's not at the panel.
Tell him every day, I love him. And he's like, I love you. And then he's like, see you, John.
I know, but I think that is who Narcisse was. I think he had that self-serving, let's just say, was one of his strong suits.
If any of you have a question, you can raise your hand, and the lovely Jessica will bring the mic over. Let's see. Okay, we've got another anonymous question.
Anonymous?
Yeah.
I know what you did last summer.
Do you think that Narcisse and Katherine did love each other?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the joy, I was incredibly fortunate that I had Anna and Megan. Most of my scenes were with you guys, and that sort of that began almost immediately. We would play together, and Megan is such a delight to play with, and she's also naughty to play with. So I think we both similar in the idea of you do your preparation, you get everything ready and right, so you know what scene's going to happen. But when you begin, you simply go, hi. And then the scene develops. And very quickly, I think we both started playing, we started playing sort of this flirty competition. And then that sort of developed, and it was such a joy to play these two monsters, seeing, and really there's no one else for them, because they are vile people as well. So two awful people who can see the awfulness and go, oh well, I can accept that. And so I do think there was a love, but there was also, they would also screw each other over if they needed to.
I think they were survivalists, so that they recognized that, and they were certainly. I think Narcisse was deeply ambitious. So I think even though Katherine would rather have had him in her pocket than in someone else's. So I think that the truth is that even though she loved him, she was careful not to be blindsided by that, because she still had to be first and foremost loyal to herself and to her clan. So she, but then I think they just had a rockin' good time.
Oh, yeah.
So it
And
was
the
hard.
sex was amazing.
She's like, oh God, okay, I gotta keep him around
Because he's so tall.
tall in my world.
We did it with my boots on.
Do you have a question?
Yes, my question is for Megan. What was it like working with the tiger? Not just the one right next to you.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I think its name was Robbie the tiger. It was Robbie the tiger. It was an incredibly hot day that day. I remember we had heat warnings. It was about, well, I guess, almost went up to 40 degrees Celsius with humidity. So that would be like 100 and something with 98% humidity.
Just like Atlanta.
Yeah, just like every day for you guys. But when you're in 17 layers of clothes, and then I got to meet the tiger first. Nobody was allowed to. You had to be really careful, and it's very strange because people think, oh, it's like a cat, but it's not. There's just this look in the eyes of an animal like that that's like, no way. Even when they've been domesticated and they're in zoos, this is just a majestic, extraordinarily powerful beast with cold eyes just boring holes right through you. So he didn't want, the trainer had to be careful not to let anyone really kind of get too close to the tiger, but because I was going to be physically close to the tiger, I remember I was allowed to walk beside the tiger just early on, just to come in, to have proximity so that the tiger could kind of look at you like, And the tiger itself was old. He was old, so he was much calmer. But they then had to get him to get going. And I was in the cage. There was a cage there were bars between us, so they'd have the tiger in one. And I had a great snug guy who helped we worked it out to drag me, and I was like, no, I want it to be me, and they dragged me in there. And then these sort of giant paws would come through. It was pretty exciting.
The size of the creature too, he basically lie around, between takes. There were a couple of scenes he came inside. It's just like, but his head, you sort of see tigers and you think, oh yeah, they're a big cat, but his head is like that. The paws are like that. They are so beautiful. And you do totally get that sense that it could, if he wanted to, just go plonk off. And but it's so gorgeous.
Beautiful, yeah.
Okay, so I was wondering if you had the opportunity to play any other character on the show, who would you choose?
I'm not just saying this because you're here, but Katherine, obviously. It's you know, you get to do everything, and you get those great costumes. Which,
Well, obviously Narcisse was another great character. There were a couple. The king had an interesting, fun journey, but so did Elizabeth. Elizabeth too is, you know, just what an extraordinary character, and then where that could have gone and, as well.
Yeah, there's so many good characters to choose from on the show.
Really.
Okay, we've got. Let's see. Sorry, yeah. Queen of Medieval wants to know what qualities in Katherine did you relate to most?
I could relate to her her loyalty to her family. I could relate to I could relate to a few things. I could relate to, I've been married and divorced. I could relate to having to be in the face of something else when there's another person that has the attention of your partner, and having to fight for your children, for the rights of that. So, and I think as the oldest woman on the show, I could relate to the fact that really when you don't have the right to your power, you have to come up with very creative ways to get it. And so we live in such a different time in that sense, but I can have a deep appreciation for the fact that I don't see Katherine at all as a monster. I see her as a product of a time. She really should have been ruling the country. She had the intelligence, she had the statesmanship qualities. She just didn't have the right for two reasons. One, she didn't have the title. She wasn't born of the blood. She was the daughter of merchants who was then used and married off to tie Rome to France, and then was used as a breeding horse, basically, an animal to produce enough children to secure things all over the continent. And I think that is, you know, you can look about that today, that's sort of hard to imagine, but had she not succeeded in that, her head would have been taken off. And at times she was on the chopping block when she was younger. It took a while for her to produce an heir, and partially because her husband was in love with someone else. And he had a mistress who was older and who he deeply loved, and then all of a sudden had to marry this woman. They were both 14, 15 when she first came to court. She was not a traditional beauty by any means, so people were rather cruel to her. And she was very intelligent, and at one point it was Henry's father, who she was also savvy. She made sure that she had a relationship to his father, that he saw some value in her, other than really what her money and her connections to Rome could do. And when she was not producing an heir, and they did some really, their idea of what would make, there was tinctures that were made literally from animal dung that they would then mix and put on, you know, on her private areas. They thought that would create something to help fertilization. I mean, who the hell is going to want to make love to that? So, like, it was a nightmare for this woman. And she, they were going to dispose of her. And she threw herself at the feet of Henry's father and said, "I will clean your floors. I will do anything. Please do not. Give me another chance." And they did. And then what they realized was that the problem wasn't with her, the problem was with him. And it was that there was slightly a tip in the cervix, there was a positioning thing. He wasn't inside her long enough. Now we're getting a little literal. And that's why she wasn't getting fertilized. And once that happened, all of a sudden, she ended up having something like 11, 13, 12 children. She lost a number of them, but it wasn't because she wasn't fertile. It was because he didn't want to go near her. And they would literally, this one just breaks my heart. She had a hole bored in the floor of the room above her husband and his mistress's bedchambers. and she would watch to try to learn what it was that he loved about this other woman. So she could, and they would find her, and she would just be weeping, like, how am I going to make, because her life depended on it. So you think that someone like that is going to end up coming up with a lot of very complicated ways to survive, and they're not at times going to be very nice because the world did not treat them. She had no value. So I guess certainly not, I can appreciate that as a woman. How about that for a long answer? Boy, that just no.
Well, Craig, what history and medical lessons do you have to share with us?
Well, when the storm comes, and bunnies, kissing makes babies.